What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? How is it going? I am no one. And in today's video, we are going to talk about Intrepid's article today talking about gathering. I'm going to read the article. I'm going to provide my input at the end because I just did a video covering this and my thoughts. So with that being said, let's dive into it. The gatherable spawning system is evolving. Came out today, Glorious Alpha 2 Gatherers. The data and feedback you've provided has been invaluable throughout our Alpha 2 testing phase, helping us shape the future of Ashes of Creation. Many of you shared thoughts on gatherables with fixed locations and predictable timers, and we recognize the desire to enhance artisanship in a more dynamic and rewarding way. Instead of quick fixes, we have decided to accelerate the development of some of our outstanding key surveying and gatherable spawning system features that not only improves the Alpha 2 experience, but also aligns with our long-term vision for the game's launch. Our goal is to create an immersive, competitive, and ever-evolving world that continues growing through your feedback and collaboration. Gathering updates. With that said, we are planning to introduce updates to the gatherable spawning system in our 0.8, 0.9, and 0.10 build updates of Alpha 2. 0.8 starts April 10th, and then April 24th, and then May 8th. So a month from now, we're going to start seeing the rollout of these things that they're talking about. These changes will be designed to make gathering more engaging and rewarding. Gatherable spawn clustering by rarity introduces variability in spawn times, amounts, and locations, making rare gatherables require continued exploration to acquire. Instead of static spawn locations, gatherables will dynamically respawn at new locations within larger spawning areas, meaning that when a gatherable resource is acquired, it won't return to the same location. Our goal is to maintain the excitement of discovering a high rarity gatherable area. However, this knowledge should come with the understanding that others will also discover and act on it. The days of logging back in at the exact spot to find that legendary copper 2 hours later are over. Surveying updates. Surveying will be an essential tool in adapting to these exciting changes. In our current iteration, some testers have mastered ways to optimize gathering spawn times, which presents an opportunity to make the system more engaging for everyone. With these changes, testers will be able to utilize the new surveying item to discover the general location of specific gatherables and find rare instances of them. Testers will also be able to gain information about gatherables that are waiting to respawn, giving them the opportunity to contest these respawn areas. This evolution of the system strives to encourage continued exploration with surveying, increasing friction in highly sought-after areas over time. Additional Artisanship updates. On top of that, Artisanship service multi-tagging will ensure that gatherables will appear in logical, immersive locations, such as Weeping Willow near riverbanks, and minerals like copper in caves, while still maintaining randomness and rewarding exploration. Gatherable spawn clusters use a weighted system to inform their chance to spawn at their viable tagged locations. This means that players can learn the location in which certain gatherables have a higher or lower chance to respawn, but it will still allow encountering eureka moments. In addition to all these gathering system improvements, processing stations will give players the flexibility to choose the size of the job they want to process, rather than being restricted to set batch sizes. Processing recipes will also allow mixing and matching different rarity gatherables similar to crafting. Gathering tools will be converted into equipable items like bags and artisanship gear. We're also refining how gatherable rarity impacts crafted item stats, ensuring gatherable rarity feels more meaningful. All these features, along with other system refinements based on community feedback, will be introduced on the 0.8 starting April 10th. Build updates. While we work to implement these changes, we appreciate your patience. So that's the end of the article. Now, overall, I like these changes quite a bit. I am very, very excited about this because, like most of you, I was not excited about static rarity gathering. I said it in my previous video. If you guys haven't watched it, you can feel free to go back and watch it. It looks like a lot of people that commented on that video also didn't watch the video because I am not a fan of static gathering. I think static nodes are really bad for the game. I tried to explain that in that video, but people are so angry, like, see title, comment before watch video. I totally get it. But yeah, static gathering is bad because basically what it does is it allows first movers, people that first hop on the server, the chance at all the legendary and epic items. And when you get your hands on those trees, at least from our perspective, in my guild, nobody else is getting them. Like, you're going to have that timer down, you're going to sit there, you're going to wait, you're going to chop it within the first 10 to 15 seconds. Nobody else is going to get access to that tree. And so you basically cut off 99% of the population off of a legendary drop because you were one of the first people online when the servers reset. That's really bad design. It's just not good at all. Now, like all of you guys, I just wanted it to go to RNG rarity, except when I heard during the live stream, they talked about wanting to contest resources. Now, if you guys have been participating in the Alpha 2, you know that contesting over different animals can be very competitive in animal husbandry, in hunting in general. Like, some of these spots can be highly contested, and you can get a lot of fun small scale PvP in these areas. We've actually had wars break out over different drops throughout phase 2 of Alpha 2. And it's been a lot of fun because it's not the big 50 to 60 on 60 battles, the 100 on 100 battles where the server can really barely handle it right now due to everything that's happening. It's a smaller scale battle. It's smaller scale PvP. It's actually a lot of fun. That's the type of stuff that I really enjoy. And we may have gotten our asses handed to us the first time this happened, but it was still enjoyable. And so when I heard them talking about contesting resources, I was like, okay, well, if you want to try to contest Braidwoods and you want to try to contest ore, how do you go about doing that? And one of the ones I brought up was surveying. Like, they have the surveying pylons out there. You set up a surveying pylon and they say, hey, this area, you have a chance at a higher, rarer tree that will be dropping in an hour, 60 minutes. Other people can buy those pylons. They all know that it's in the area. And now you're contesting over the spot when the respawn comes up, right? The locations based off of geographics, I think, is really good. Random dropping, RNG dropping after a collection of resources is also good. I saw a lot of people complaining about botting in the previous video. The tree stays in one spot for 24 hours, and after those 24 hours, it then resets. And so this, how I'm reading it, is it resets after the first collection. It'll still be in like a relative similar area, how I'm interpreting this, but it won't be in the same spot, which I think is really smart. I think that helps prevent botting. I think this is a really good way to go about doing it. And surveying allows you to contest these things, which I also think is great. And so all these things, in my opinion, are good. A couple of the other improvements that are great: processing stations will give players the flexibility to choose the size of the job they want to process. So currently, they basically had it set up where you could process 1, 3, 5, 25, and 50, something like that. And so if you had 26, you could only process 25. And so you're sitting with an extra 1. Now you can process them any size or any amount, which I think is great. And then, you might just have to sit for however many hours to get it done. Processing recipes will also allow mixing and matching different rarity gatherables similar to crafting. I think this is a really good change for crafting, and I wanted to show an example as to why. So right now we are looking at a limestone armor mold. You need to make this armor mold in order to make higher level armor pieces in the game, and it requires a lot of different things. You have braidwood, which is hard to get. You process it and turn it into timber, so that's legendary. Your limestone mortar uses weirdstone stand, spindle help thread, weirdstone fragments, and then you have legendary clay, which you need legendary limestone fragments and legendary animal fat. Animal fat is very hard to get in higher level rarity. It is very expensive, and so when you're talking about getting, armor pieces, you have 8 armor pieces. Getting 8 legendary fat is damn near impossible. I don't even know if I've seen a legendary fat in the game. And so this mixing, like, you have to have all these in the same rarity when you're processing it. So your mortar has to be at the same level. And so when you process it, they all have to be heroic, epic, legendary. Same thing with the clay. You need to have legendary limestone fragments and legendary animal fat, or you have to use a lower quality. And so if you only have rare, this turns into rare, and then it doesn't mix together to make the mold. That's the pain in the ass currently with armor molds and stuff like steel ingots. You need to have the same rarity, and one of them is a lot harder to get. Now you can mix and match. And so obviously, if you have one legendary and one rare, obviously it's still not going to be legendary, but you can mix and match them now, and you don't have to have the same rarity, and you're not stuck with weird pieces in your inventory. So I like this change quite a bit. Gathering tools will be converted into equipable items like bags and artisanship gear. This is cool. I'm curious if it's going to have PvP stats on it. So a lot of artisanship gear in your bags will have like fizz power, health, crit mitigation, stuff like that. So it sounds like the weapons will as well. We're also refining how gatherable rarity impacts crafted item stats, ensuring gatherable rarity feels more meaningful. Yeah, outside of hunting, I don't feel like rarity feels really good at all in this game right now. And obviously it's an alpha 2. I know some people are going to yell at me for saying it's a game, so, have at it. But Overall, right now, I don't think rarity feels very good outside of hunting. And so, yeah, this would be nice to see those adjustments. All these features are coming out at that point in time. Yeah, overall, these are good changes. We'll test them when they go live, of course, in a month from now in April. But overall, this is a good step in the right direction. I think this is really good. This is a type of system that, it allows contesting and it gives other people a chance. So if somebody hops on at a server reset and they get a tree, well, you can still catch up and get a surveying pylon and go, okay, I missed that one. Well, where's the legendaries at? Who got the legendary? And you can go find them. I think that's really smart. It gives everybody a chance to, play and get resources on a more even playing field. It incentivizes people to actually be out in the world and finding stuff. So I think I like this quite a bit. I was reading the Twitter section as well, and I wanted to comment on this because Steven commented, and Plastic Lemon says, is this a pivot based off of feedback or an implementation of the original outlook on gathering that was shared in the past? Ashes of Creation comments, the current version is a work in progress version that was added for the sake of early testing. Based on tester feedback, we have decided to shift the development around and implement more of the final design intention for the system. Lloyd says, a lot of what is said in this post is congruent with what was said about the final system previously. Considering phase 2 was focused on economy, I think the push for moving it up in development makes a lot of sense. I agree with that. Plastic Lemons then says, it is, but Steven had said some stuff recently about liking the conflict that arises from static gathering spawns, so I was worried they were backing up on their initial thoughts. Steven then says this, I'll enlarge it here a little bit for you guys, and hence. And he says, that conflict was always intended to be based around large vein clustered resource events, or in the case of general gatherable spawns. High quality groupings that randomly seed within the world. Static spawn points was a byproduct of the work in progress state gathering was in, but we have since moved to higher priority the necessary changes to test the intended loop. So how I'm reading this, and I could be reading this incorrectly, was they were never planning on having static rarity for all of their resource spawns. They just wanted it for the large vein clusters. So when you find something, people can contest over it later. But because it was a work in progress, it applied to all resource gathering. And so we had an interesting situation where it just had a not so fun intended mechanic based off of an incomplete product. So yeah, overall, I thought that was interesting because, the Q&A from a couple weeks ago made it seem like, we were always designing around having static respawns. And if you've been participating in the static respawn thing, you'd be like, why? Like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, all you're doing is rewarding people online first. And yeah, that's not fair for other people across the world. Do you really want to wake up at 4 a.m. in order to get something because the server reset? I don't want to. So yeah, this makes a lot of sense. It goes in line with the overall game. And these types of spots will have different forms of PvP of people fighting over things. Like I said, I'm very excited to get in here and test these things. I'm very excited to get in here and check things out. But I'm just one person. And that's my opinion. I want to hear yours. Let me know in the comment section below what you think. Thank you for watching, guys. Have a nice day.